back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Big announcement before I get to the show today. If you are in High Point and you happen to be listening to this is October 21st, 2022. And guess what? Jaipur Living and My Doma Studio are throwing me a birthday party. That's right. They surprised me with this. And I am just so grateful and excited to share my 60th birthday with you. So if you are in High Point, the party is Sunday, October 23rd at 2 p.m. at Jaipur. Okay, the link for the RSVP is in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. We also have a panel discussion happening at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 22nd, also at Jaipur. So that panel discussion is going to feature Rashida Gray, Nicole Heimer, Claire Jefford, and the Vincennes. All right? So hope to see you in High Point. Please, if you're in town, come up and introduce yourself to me. Now, Ebony Looney is on the show with me today. Ebony is a web designer, creative director, and owner of Make Me Over Eb. She has more than 22 years of experience making websites more beautiful for business-to-business service providers like you. Ebony has worked with agency owners, private sector, and educational institutions such as Carbra Construction and Design, Benedict College, and South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs. We've talked about websites on the show before. We've had Deb Mitchell on talking about how to attract the right clients with standout copy. And of course, we've had my very own web guru, who is the genius behind all things over here, LuAnn Nigara, WindowWorks, Exciting Windows, Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand. Nicole always shows up giving us great tips to how to plan for a successful website and our branding. So today, Ebony is going to focus on strategies for building our website that will not only attract clients to us, but also help us attract tradespeople. Because aren't we always looking for the good ones? She gives us 3 specific ways we can win bids or clients by using our website as a tool. Now, very excited to introduce you to Ebony. I had a great conversation with her. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Ebony. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Oh, hi, LuAnn. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this conversation, Ebony. You have a very interesting little niche there that you are developing in your business, I understand. So you're a website developer. I love getting to know you a little bit. In business 15 years. You have a nice team that you're running there, all the good things. And you started working with construction firms, and what I'm understanding is that you like it, and you've actually been very effective in helping these construction firms, kind of get more clients based on upping their game on their website. Am I on the right track with all of this?
You are.
Very exciting. Exciting. And so what's funny is because you said to me, there are 3 specific ways that a website can help win bids for a construction firm. And before you tell me those 3 specific ways, I'm curious. Now, not that we don't have construction firms listening to this podcast, Ebony, but probably, the majority are interior design firms. So I want to know what the 3 top things are, and then maybe we can see if some of them correlate to interior designers being able to attract bids as well. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So talk to me about this. What are some, these 3 top ways? Let's talk about these a little bit.
Okay, so excuse me. So really, when we want to think about it like this, right? people are going to Google any company, right?
Right.
And based off what they find is either going to help you win or lose business. And so you want to make sure whatever's on your website shows one, your authority. And so that's one way, by showing your authority by who you've worked with, not just logos, but maybe actually the work, because people like to see before and afters. And then also showing like testimonials on your website
Mm.
and showing your work. So if you can show your authority, I probably mentioned more than three ways, right? But
Mm.
if you can show your authority, then people say, oh, this person actually knows what they're talking about. And you're showing logos in your work visually, that will help you win a bid, in a sense of when it's time for you to actually pitch and do a proposal, they'll think, oh, okay, this person or this company has worked with other businesses. They're not just new,
Okay.
right?
So is
Yeah, and oh,
no, so I just want to just clarify before you go on. Is authority the first one and then logos is the second one, or is logos and testimonials how you express authority? That's just what I wasn't clear on.
it's all of that.
Okay.
You build authority by showing who you've worked with. You show your work, and you show your work with the testimonials as well.
Okay. Okay. So you show who you work with, you show the actual work, and then you also
Hmm.
show testimonials.
Yes, and that really all goes under your authority.
Okay. All righty. And so you mentioned who you work with, and I think you said not just putting their logos. So what are take me in the weeds on that a little bit.
Okay, so the weeds of that is, you know, we are all visual. So if you may go to a company's website and you don't know who those logos are unless they're like a big national brand,
Mm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
visually you'll see the logos and you'll say, okay, they've worked with other companies. But I'm saying in addition to the logos, you have the testimonials
Got it.
from said people who you've worked with, and you only need a few,
Mm.
in addition to showing the actual work or the finished product.
Got
That
it.
helps you build authority.
Okay. Okay. I love
Hmm.
it. And so once we get further into the weeds of showing your work and showing the testimonials, are there best practices that you usually recommend?
You talking about for showing your.
Yes, for like, there's all different ways to show a portfolio. There's before and afters, there's the slider thing, there's, the Johnson Street project or kitchens. Like, are there ways that you feel that portfolios or galleries of our work, how they're organized, are better than others? Or is that a personal and an artistic decision, Ebony?
Oh, okay. Honestly, nowadays I would say to keep it simple. Like you maybe 10 years ago or 5 to 10 years ago, you can have like a gallery of photos, and people would go to a photo page. But now, when you show your work spread out through the site,
Oh,
um, that's how, and you're kind of like telling the story of how, what you did with them. So like on a company's website that we did, their work is in the top. When as soon as you get to the website, it's the work of one of their clients that they did.
okay.
And so I wouldn't think of like the gallery slider per se on the site. Like, and I'm saying this because I don't use a gallery slider in the newer sites that I've done, to show the work, but I kind of spread it out and then put like a little blurb next to it, of what the client actually did. And it's really, some of it is just straight facts, depending on, of course, who their market is. But mostly with construction, you just say, we did this, we did that. If the client feels like saying like how much they did the job for, and if it's relevant, they can put those numbers. But it's really sprinkled throughout the site, almost like a almost like a brochure.
Hmm.
So when they see it, they're like, oh, because people scroll.
Right.
And so the photos of what you've actually done with the particular client is really what, is the art of the website.
Mm.
These are not like stock photos.
Right. So what you're describing, it sounds like that, like when you mention it more to the format of a brochure like that, and when you were saying, so what I'm picturing is, instead of I click on a page and there's 20 pictures of construction work projects that I've done, kitchen renovation before and after, you're saying, maybe there's a picture of the kitchen in the before stage and you mentioned a blurb. So maybe we're talking about what the challenge was in the kitchen in that thing. And then maybe, another page in the site is the after and it's the results of it. And that has the testimonial. Like, is that what you're talking about, Ebony?
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I'm saying like it's sprinkled throughout the site. So a typical website would have the core pages of like the home page, about page, services, and then maybe a projects page.
Mm.
So on the home page, you would actually have a picture of like one of your projects that you did, and you can have photos, and I'm saying sprinkled, but like scattered or sprinkled throughout that home page of work that you've done with
Okay.
just a caption,
Okay.
right? And then you can do the same thing on the about page and the services page. So, for example, with a client that I have, let's say their service was renovating uh, the driveway, the parking lot of a particular organization. We're going to use a photo to show that. And then if you want to go deeper, maybe on the projects page, you can show the before and after if the client decides to show the before and after. I'm not saying you have to, but
Mm.
people generally just want to see the work because most people are going to scan.
Right.
They're going to scan the website.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So sprinkling throughout is just, exactly as you said. It's just not like this is the homepage and so there's no pictures here, or this is the about page and it just has the pictures of my team. There's work sprinkled throughout the entire site, teasing us all along.
Yes, and that's how I would recommend it because it's really showing think about it like if you were going into an office. They're not just going to have like one room with all the photos.
Right.
It would be
Okay.
nice, but they're going to have some photos when you come into the front office saying we did this. And then maybe as you go down the hallway, they're going to have another photo. And so that's what I mean with sprinkling things through
Okay. I love it.
through
Okay.
the website. And it's almost like it's like a and actually I don't like this term, but it's really like turning your website into a true brochure. Like the client themselves can just use their website to say, hey, we were able to do this, and they can click on the page and just use it almost as a visual tool,
Mm. Okay.
similar
Right.
to what they would do with a PowerPoint presentation. But now they're using their site. And what I find is that people are like, oh, wow, that okay. Oh, oh, wow. And so that's where you're making the website really work for you.
Yes. Well, I mean, right? We spend enough for them, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, you really, yeah, yeah, you really, yeah, exactly. And so that goes back to one of the other ways to help your website win bids and it probably goes under a building authority, is really answering questions that maybe your client would ask.
Mm.
Whoever your client is, if I would recommend using their blog as a way to answer questions that their clients have
Mm.
about the particular projects that they have. So, because in that sense, it's going to help you win the bid because they're going to say, oh, this company knows what they're talking
Right.
about, for example, asphalt or their ideas on construction or whatever, or if they had a podcast,
Right.
per se, they could use their blog as a way to put that information there because it really establishes their authority as like, okay, this person knows what she's talking about, or
Mm.
they're talking about regarding said subject of, you know, painting a
Hmm.
school or something like that,
Hmm. Well,
or field
because
demolition.
right, because there are nuances that go into each of those types of projects that your average bear isn't going to know what to expect. And so when we are looking for somebody to do a project like that, and we're Googling something of that level, and we come to a blog post that explains and teaches us, oh, I wouldn't even have known I had to think about that. And, this person is the one who taught it to us. So then we're starting to transfer our trust over to the company that this website am I on the right track with the goal for this and all?
No, you're exactly on the right track because people are going to research you first. I mean, and it just kind of is what it is. And so if you're able to show the authority, answer people's questions, and then the third thing that I didn't mention was showing your process, like a simple process that you do, they'll say, oh, okay, this
I
company
love that
knows
one.
this company knows what they're talking about.
So you just started to talk my love language there with showing your
Oh,
process.
yeah.
Because the thing about it is to, the point I was just making, we don't understand what it takes to do a project that we are looking for an experienced expert to hire to do that project. And the more education that any potential company that I hire, whether it's a website developer or it's a construction firm or an interior design firm, the more I can understand about your process before I have a conversation with you, the more I can visualize if this feels good to me, if I like this, if this feels like a logical thing that I want to be involved with. But then, to me, having run businesses my whole life, it's like if you can explain
Mm-hmm.
to me what the process is, then I can at least start to begin to believe that you're going to do this within a process, as opposed to I get up on Tuesday and do it one way, and I get up on Wednesday and I do it another way, right?
Yeah.
I just
Exactly.
sounded very like the Godfather right there. I do it this way. I do it this way on Tuesday. I do it this way on
Yeah. So
Wednesday.
exactly.
Ay, ay, ay.
Exactly. And people like you everything you just said, I co-sign on. If you can show people your process and it doesn't, doesn't have to be deep. It's at a high level. This is how we do it and it's your way of doing things.
Yeah, I love that you made that distinction, Ebony. High level. High level is all we need now. We don't have
Mhm.
to. We're not needing to express our internal operational process. We're expressing, like Sarah Brennan says this to me all the time. She says, Lou, this is my process for the client facing, but internally we have a different process, and it is like, blown out to the max. And all I need as the potential consumer trying to vet you is the client phase. Like the first phase, you want me to
Mhm.
do this. The second phase, you're going to do this for me, and I have to do that. The third phase, right, Ebony?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I think like you said, people they're looking you up and they want to know do they know what they're doing and everybody does the same thing. So, excuse me, what makes you different? And so sometimes though, of course as a web designer, getting the client to actually put that on the site is very interesting because like you said, they have the internal processes and they're like, wait a second, we got to put this on the site. And I'm like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
because, and I didn't used to think that way because, web design and the internet has just changed in the past 5 years. And so we just have to understand that, look, first of all, everybody's going to Google you. Everybody does the same thing. When I say everybody, there's more than one of you out there. And so if I can just um, make it simple, we have to simplify this and make this simple on the website and realize that people are just going to scan
Right.
and they're
Right.
going to do their research before contacting you. And I've had that happen to me. They was like, so what do you do? And it's like, oh my goodness. And I've actually started putting my process on the website.
Well,
I
doctor,
take my
heal
own advice.
thyself, right? take
Yeah.
take your own medicine, right?
Yeah, like Ebony, what do you do? How do you do it? And I would have never done that years ago. Like,
Mm.
oh, I do it this way and da 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 da. Before it's just like, oh, I make pretty websites and here are the before and afters, which is nice, but we just have to get a little bit more specific. And so we just adapt,
Right.
as time change. We adapt because we want more, at the end of the day, we want to win bids or we want leads, we want more clients, and we want to get it quickly. We want to
That's
get it
right.
quickly and we want it smoothly.
That's it.
That's the whole point of having the website is so that we can attract and convert new clients.
Do you find that when you go to work with new clients that there are typical mistakes that you find that on a website that you're like XXX, or things that we could be, oh, let me go check my website and see if I have these mistakes. Anything like that come to mind?
Yeah, I think sometimes people they they think they're artists, but they're not.
Mm,
And unless you're a designer, you know what I mean? Like, don't get fancy. I always tell people stick with the template. Now, there was a time ago where people would say, "Oh, I don't do a template. I want it all custom." And it's like, well, it is custom because it's your stuff on there.
mm,
But there's a reason why the template is set up in a certain way, and so you don't really want to go outside of the template. Almost like a framework of a house, right? Once you
right.
have the foundation built, once you start going over the foundation, I don't know how this thing is going to stand up.
Mm,
So I would tell people like stick within the framework of the foundation or stick within the framework of the template. Do not get fancy. And this is even when people design the site, right? So I'll design the site and then and the client, they like to update their own site. They'll go in and they'll make all these changes and I'm like, "What in the world? That looks nothing." Like they'll say nailed it and it looks nothing like the template. It looks too
oh,
far gone and then it starts looking cheap.
right.
And
Because the
so because
templates have been built with the thoughts in mind, right? They've been built with whatever it is. It's the proportion or the scale or whatever it is that makes a website attractive.
Exactly. And so, because there's so many templates built by people who are already designers, who already understand the code, your job is really just to go in within those parameters and put in your photos
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
stick with it and put in nice photos. And so, because you don't want it to look cheap. So, the mistake that a lot of people make is that they try to get fancy when they're not designers.
Mm.
So, I'm
Right.
saying, like, and most of us we're not artists.
Right.
But we'll make the site as if it's our own personal journal.
Right.
And the problem is that the website is not really for you, it's to attract your client.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like if you're the only one looking at it and you love it, okay. Right? But
That's great.
but the goal the goal is to have your clients love it. It's not, it's not a museum to so you can look at it, feel good about yourself. But
Right.
so that's a mistake I see a lot of people make. They think the site is about them and is only about their company, but it's really about the people you're trying to attract and do business with. So it really should be set up to serve them, but you don't have to let yourself go. It can still tell your story, but your goal is to attract them to your business.
Okay. Okay. And is what's the deal with is blogging? I know you mentioned blogging as from the standpoint of telling the details and having people understand what you do and the value of what you're doing. Is it still a valuable tool for SEO, Ebony?
It is.
Okay.
It's definitely good for SEO. And so that's where, like I was saying earlier about establishing your authority, if you use your blog to answer simple questions, and actually I got this concept from a person who I took a YouTube class from, Sean Cannell. He would always say, the person who understands the viewer wins.
Mm,
So when you do your YouTube channel and in a way to answer people's questions, your viewer, you win. And so I thought about it and I said the same goes for your website, your
mm,
blog, the blog, which is just a component of your website, because people are asking questions every day. Like, when was the last time you went to Google and you put in a search? And in that search, under the ads, were generally articles or blogs, same thing, that answered your question. And then you read the article or whatever, and then you made a decision. So if you answer people's questions that normally people ask, you're optimized for search
mm,
engine optimization. You're writing for the viewer or the reader or the person you're seeking to serve.
right.
So
Okay.
I would say every business needs to blog. They don't like to hear that because it sounds like work, because it is. But if
That's why it sounds like that.
it sounds like that, but I started thinking like, well, approach it as you're helping your clients. You're using this as an FAQ. I'm not saying you have to blog every day because who has the time for that? But if you said I'm going to answer one question a week, or just go through the 10 top questions your clients ask, and you use that can be what your blog is for, and then you just update it accordingly. It
Okay.
will help you show up in search a lot better.
I like the idea of one question a week, right? I think that's what it is when it comes to things like blogging or creating video content and things like that. It gets, we overthink it. Well, I have to, do all this big, valuable content, blah, blah, blah. But if you just one question a week, what I try and do is, just put yourself in the place of the work that you do, and what's one question a client that you're working with asked you yesterday or today, right? As simple as that.
Mhm.
Because if they
Mhm.
had that question, a gabillion other people have the question, right?
Mhm. Mhm. And then what you could do is, as you're coming up with your questions, or you just ask your clients. I ask my clients all the time, like, hey, what questions do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And then I proceed to answer it in a blog post, or I can do a video that I can embed on the blog and just
Mm-hmm.
use the transcript. Or like, I know a lot of people use their podcast as their blog because they're
Mm-hmm.
still talking. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and it's driving traffic, and I'm sure you can talk all day about podcasting SEO, but it has to be housed somewhere. So
Right.
why not the website?
Right. Oh
Or you
yeah.
say,
Oh
well,
yeah.
I talk about said subject. Like, for example, I listened to a podcast just this morning about copywriting.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
I know. I thought to myself, like, who would dare do a podcast on copywriting? That sounds boring. But, like 2 or 3 episodes in, I'm hooked
Oh yeah.
because it's a question as a website, not a web designer, developer. Copy is so important to a website. So that was the other thing I probably could have said of what people mess up on is that they don't they don't invest in copy or
Mm.
the written word on the site, and that is very important. Besides, the pictures are good too, right? But the words are very important because it helps you become optimized for search, because
Right.
Google reads words, right? Or
Right.
any other search engine is based off of word search. And so there I was listening to this podcast about copy, and and then after I listened to it, they gave some really actionable tips.
Now
And I went and
everybody's thinking, what podcast was it,
oh
Ebony?
yeah, I'm sorry. I know you're right. It was I'm giving a plug. It's this the Distilled brand, and it's with Ryan Roten. I hope I said his name right, and Erica Brewer. And they talk about actually clarifying your message. And I've been just eating that up, but just
Mm.
listening to every single thing they say. They have, their podcast telling us how to write better and say things better, but it helps me as a web designer and developer because you generally will write copy for my clients. And
Mm-hmm.
so the tips that they gave, I said, oh, I need to be a little bit more clear.
Yes. Yes.
And so I went to my site and I made some changes of like, well, maybe I'm not as clear as I thought. They always say clear over clever.
Right. Oh, 100%.
Because at the end of Yeah, because at the end of the day, and they were talking to B2B service providers, at the end of the day, the goal is the more clear you are, it will be easier for the client to win over the client for
Mm-hmm.
the bid, for the lead, to get the
Mm-hmm.
sale, to get the business, and they feel like, oh, this person is perfect for me and
Mm-hmm.
the needs that I have for my organization.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's the truth because, I read a lot of websites, Ebony. I've done over 800 interviews, and every person I've interviewed, I've read their website. And
Hmm.
it's crazy to me. I think, I'm curious what you're thinking about this, because what I don't like is if I can't find on the website anywhere the name of the person who owns the company. If it's a service-based business or construction or remodeling and things like that and design, any of the trades, where I'm going to interact with the owner or anyone on a regular basis, right? So if it's
Mhm.
Home Depot, we don't need any
Mhm.
pictures and we don't need any
No.
about the team. But, I think if you're a team under 20, we want to who's going to come to my house, right? If I'm going to call a plumber, who's coming, who's going to show up? Is it Bill, Bob, Sally, Joe?
Can I thank you. Can I see a t-shirt, please?
Right.
I'm serious, like, because we've had builders come to our house and it's like, are you with the team?
Right. Like,
Or is this a scam? I
right.
need to see some t-shirts. Like,
Yes.
can I and I don't want to be a snob, but I'm like, do you guys have a website? Like, I need to
Yes.
see who's all, oh, okay, the owner's on there. Okay, cool.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's a trust thing. Yeah.
it's funny because I have another podcast, Ebony, called Window Treatments for Profit.
Yeah.
And most designers now, we've been, rallying the message here for years here. Most designers will have, my name is Sally Smith, and I am the principal and creative director of XYZ interior design firm. So that it's rare now that I run into an
Hmm.
interior designer that doesn't have their name and photograph on the site. But window treatment people are still a tough crowd. They don't get it. They don't necessarily think it's important, and it's all about, we sell Hunter Douglas window treatments. We sell Comfortex window treatments. We do this. We do that. I'm like, who is we? Who is we? Who is we? I want to know who we is.
Who? Yeah, Hunter Douglas. Like, if I was to Google Hunter Douglas, like,
Yeah, like the
I
billion
mean,
things, and Hunter's coming out top, not you.
exactly. And I kind of had to, someone else had to remind me of that because I would say, oh, I build WordPress websites. Okay, well, great. WordPress websites, but they're really coming to see who you are
Hmm.
and what you do. So there's a balance of, like, it's not all about me, it's about the client to a certain extent, but there's a nice balance that you can do. People want to see who am I giving my money to? You
That's it.
asking me for all this money,
Right.
who am I? I mean, unless we're like a big, huge brand,
Right.
international, like you said, over 20 people.
Right. No, it
Yeah.
is. It's important. It's so that you can. I think it starts that whole, like, getting to know the person, and what happens is, and then we were talking about copy, right? So that's
Hmm.
part of that. It's, who is the company? What do you stand for? How do you work? I love your FAQs section, your process section. It's, I want to start to picture myself within a relationship with you, a business financial relationship with you. And it's hard to do that with this unknown royal we,
Yeah.
with
That's true.
who we are, right? And I
Who
also,
are you? Yeah.
right? And I also, when you talk about copy, um, I love that you said clear over clever, because what I also find is, sometimes the copy is too lofty. It's too in the sky and in the this and all the things. And I'm just like, really though? Like, are you a regular person? And so, and also the other thing, here I am on a roll now. The other thing
Yeah.
I will find is that it's like not grammatically correct, right? Because you are not a writer. You build homes, or you design homes, or you do a podcast, right? Like, you're not, it's not grammatically correct. And that offends me. It makes me crazy. And so it's like, to your point, get good copywriting, right? When you work with a professional, make sure there's good copywriting, right?
I agree. And sometimes you need, like, and even myself, right? Like, I am not a copywriter by trade.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have to write copy,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes any sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, I'm not a painter, but I know how to paint my house.
Right.
But even still, I will go and look at, I mean, my apartment. I will go and look at tutorials on, like, the best way to do it because I still don't want it to look messy.
Right.
And so, and sometime I'll call a friend and say, hey, can you look at this? Because I don't know if I did it right. And so having someone else there, and this is one of the things that, I help teach people do, is like having someone else, you just need another set of eyes
Mm.
to look at what you wrote, and just make sure it makes sense. And more importantly, your clients.
Right.
So sometimes I'll ask my clients, like, hey, could you just look at this?
Mm-hmm.
Could you look at this? Just read it. I read it out loud. It sounds good. And they'll say, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." Or no, who's your audience? I thought you was working with me, you know.
Right, right, right,
And,
right.
and so and so in the sense of like once the website is done, it's not really done. So you're always going to make updates and changes to it as your business just goes along. I would say grow, but just like you're doing maintenance on a building, you know, you build the building and then there's different maintenance
Mm-hmm.
tasks that go on with the building to make it to keep it making, excuse me, to keep it looking fresh and new
Right.
and up to the certain codes. It's the same thing with the website. And so I have this process where I say we review, refresh, and then relaunch to
Hmm.
keep the website fresh. Yeah, to
That's
keep the
nice.
website fresh. That's our process, right?
That's nice.
Um, and to keep it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people say, "Oh, well, the website we don't need to update it. It's just a simple website. It doesn't need to be updated." And I'm like, "Yes, it does," because like my website is not the same. People are not the same as they were before the pandemic. So if your website is the same as it was before the pandemic, then that's a problem. You could be losing business.
Mm.
People, right? Just in the 3 years of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
I had some, as they say, come to Jesus moments where it was like, wait a minute, what do we stand for?
Mm.
What are we about? Maybe I need to tighten this up. Maybe I do need to take off the lofty language that
Mm-hmm.
might have worked before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people, it's just one of those things. And so sometimes it just requires a little humility and getting somebody to help you.
Mm-hmm. 100%. 100%. Another thing that you had mentioned to me in the intake form was that you said that your website can help you attract subcontractors that you then hire for projects. So that's interesting because a lot of interior designers are often looking for good tradesmen. Is that what you mean, that you can
Mhm.
attract the trades to your website if through specific tactics?
Yeah. So, okay. So just like, okay, your website, remember I was mentioning before, your website can attract your client.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but your website can also have a career section on there. And I actually had a client ask me, she said, "Hey, can you add a career section to our site?" And I was like, "Oh," and they gave me some examples of other organizations that did that. And I said, "Oh, that makes sense." If I went to Target, Target has a career page,
Mm.
right? And
Yep.
on that page it tells me what kind of company they are. So in that way, they're attracting the talent. So if you're using your site to show your legacy, what you guys are doing, yeah, you're gonna attract clients. They're gonna say, "Oh, I mean, not clients, excuse me." You're gonna attract subcontractors or people who want to work with you, and so they're quite naturally going to look for a careers page, a jobs page. Who are you hiring? And so on that careers page or job page, you're going to have a form where they can fill out. And then whatever your process is of getting people in the door or interviewing them, you follow up with them.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. It could just be something as simple of this is a video of what it's like to work with us. Fill out the form if you're interested.
So that's an interesting, this is a completely new concept right here. So, to your point, it's not new to have a career tab or a job tab, but I think the correlation to interior designers would be maybe there's a trade partner tab or a trade resource tab. And, you when you open it up, it invites a contractor or a painter or a window treatment professional or a tile professional to say to that interior designer, "I want to put my hand up to do projects for you." And so now you ask for the kind of information. Maybe you want your subcontractors to be licensed. You want them to be bonded. You want to know how many years experience they have. You want to know if they have references. Like, that's interesting, right? Like, that could work, right?
Yes, and I've seen this, like, and I'm just gonna be honest, I didn't make this up. I, I didn't make this up.
Cat's out
I
of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag, right? A client came to me and said, "Hey, I need this on our site." And I
Mm,
said, "Oh, well, have you seen this before? Because you guys, you know your industry more than anyone,
right, right,
right?
right.
I'm the web designer trying to put your vision, bring your vision to life."
Mm-hmm.
And so they showed me an example of a bigger firm that's across several states, they had that on their site. And
Right.
so this smaller company said, we need that on ours.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so I looked at it and I was like, oh, I know what that is. That's a page with some links to some
Yep.
information, and I just have to make it simple for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh, okay. I didn't really know how to get that on there. And I was
Right.
like, oh, well, I do. And that's where I come in and I just bring their vision to life. But when they described it, I was like, what? Oh, it's just a career page.
Right.
But you name it subcontractor information. You name it
Right.
to be what your industry terms are. Like in
Right.
my industry, I would not say subcontractor. I probably say freelancers.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm
Right.
looking
Right.
for like, but really at the end of the day, it's like I'm looking for a job.
Yes, right, right. And
You know
that's
what I mean?
interesting. And I think we always think of a job page as somebody we want to hire to work in our firm, a senior designer, a junior designer, a bookkeeper. But it could be, hey, trades out there, put your hand up and see if maybe we're a good fit to do projects together, which is interesting because it sort of puts the designer in the driver's seat of, I'm not chasing to deign me a job. I'm interviewing you to see if you're good enough to be part of my team, like, which is kind of a takeaway in sales, actually.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even so simply as have on a button on your website that says join us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so if you're out there, you're establishing your authority on social media, you're talking about what you do, maybe if you're in the need for people, you make a post that says, would you like to join our team? And then you show happy pictures of what it looks like to be a part of your team.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, join us, and put the button to the page,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the careers page, where if they're interested, they can fill out a form, and then you can see if you guys are a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're like
Yes.
interviewing each other.
Yes.
And because people are always looking and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I would love to work for so and so. Companies do it all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
Target, they look happy. I'm like, I would love to work there. I mean,
Yes.
if that company looks like it's fun and they're interior designer and you get to choose what type of team you want. And so you put that information out there, you put it a page on your website, you have your qualification form. I mean, as simple as having and I'm not even joking, it's as simple as having a form on your site, maybe to set up an interview. And they
Right.
have to
Right. That's
upload.
right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You could ask for preliminary information, or you could just say, request to have a discovery call, an interview call with the designer. I think this is an interesting idea. I've never, ever come across this idea in all of the interviews I've done. And I think it has legs. That's a pretty cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I've seen it. I'm actually looking at the company site because I'm not advertising them, but this other company, they're across multiple states in the Southeast, and they have this. And there's other portals where you can find qualified workers for the within the excuse me, construction and interior design. And here's the thing, because I'm talking to my clients trying to understand where their industry a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I find out. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you guys are posting your jobs here. Okay, but you want to put this on your website. Okay, so we need to put a link.
Mm-hmm.
And, to make it the process easy
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and simple for the, regular person just saying, hey, I need a career.
Yeah. No, I think I love it. I love it. That's the aha moment of the podcast there, Ebony. I love an aha moment in every show. That's what I'm going for.
Oh, good.
Yeah. One aha moment and LuAnn's a happy lady.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Definitely, definitely. So your company is called Make Me Over Eb, right? As in Make Me Over Ebony. And you
Yes,
are found at makemeovereb.com. Is this correct?
absolutely. Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. And you are developing this niche of helping female-led construction firms, and interior design firms and different things, get their websites up to, something that attracts not only clients but contractors to them, right?
Yes, and also and training them how to do it, because a lot of times they want to keep it in-house.
Mm,
And so what I'll find is that, they'll say, we don't know what happened to our web developer, a web designer. And so I'm at a point now where I'm like, well, why don't we train someone inside of the company who's going
Oh,
to probably be there and show them how to do it? Um, you know, you're training your staff or training the person you want to put in charge to do this, at least to understand what is going on.
right, right, right.
You know what I mean? Because, we're
Oh,
just
I can't
empowering
imagine.
them.
I can't
Hmm.
imagine if I didn't have like my web developer is everybody knows I use Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand, and
Hmm.
there's no way. Like we have 4 different websites under the umbrella,
Hmm.
and when something's going wrong, there's no way. So we don't have her in house, but she's kind of in house because she's on call for us, and
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think that it's not always possible to have that sort of relationship with somebody, and so being able to have somebody in house that has some training, that's interesting. That's another, that's a terrific value right there that you're offering people. I like that.
And especially for depending on the size of the person's business. Now, obviously, there's still a place for like, to do website maintenance and stuff like that, for like
Professionally,
Glory and
right?
Brand does professionally. But then there's the person, they just have a small team.
Right,
And
right,
they're like,
right.
listen, can you just show us how to do it?
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of the technology. It's kind of like, and I'll say this like we're renting an apartment, and in the maintenance agreement they said they will fix the major stuff.
Mm,
Like I don't know how to like replaster the ceiling. I don't even know what that's called, right?
right.
However, if there's a hole, I think I have to patch it myself. I have to
Okay.
change the light bulb. There's
Great
certain things that I
analogy.
was like, oh, yeah, do you guys do this? And they were like, no, you're kind of
No.
responsible for that. And I was like, oh, so where did I go? I went to Google.
Right, right, right.
Right? I went to Google to do basic maintenance. Like I have to change my own air filter in my apartment. That is
Oh,
not something they do. However, if the air conditioning system broke,
right.
I do call them because that's not I don't
Right.
that's
That's
under
like the heavy lifting of actually building the website and doing the development of it. But you're
ex
helping people understand that they can do updates and little refreshes and, posting their blog posts and things like that by themselves.
oh yeah, you can absolutely. You don't have to have a college degree or any technical experience. I
Mm
tell people, listen, if you can log on to Facebook,
hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
if you can log on to your Roku, you can log on to your website and
Okay.
and make these updates. And in the
Everybody that works for
technology,
me right now is rolling their eyes, by the way. They're all like, LuAnn can't do that, by the way.
they
They'll
can't
send
log
me a,
into
a
Facebook.
blog post or, a landing page or something to approve. And they're like, and it's funny because in our newest company, Exciting Windows, Mark is our IT tech over there, and he's fabulous. And we bought the company a year and a half ago. He would be like, "Okay, here, you can go in and approve this, and just log into the back end of the website. You can see the blog post, and can hit publish." I'm like, "No, Mark, none of those things are happening. Please take this thing, put it in a Google Doc, put it in the Drive. I'll look at it in the Drive. I'll edit in the Drive, and then I'll let you know when it's time." like no. I'm like, you don't want me on the back end. Like, no.
Well, yeah, and the
But
back end, that's why I said the back end is not for everybody,
right,
but
right.
it is for like your assistant or something like
Yeah.
that. Like for example, I had a client and I did their website and everything, but then we worked together for years, but then the company, it was a school, they wanted to start bringing things in house.
Mm,
So one of their staff members, guess what? She had to learn how to do things.
mm-hmm.
So where's she gonna go? She
Right.
have to learn somewhere. I mean, it's not like it's secret. It's maybe
But
10
it's
years
not
ago.
easy, and it takes somebody like you that really
Well,
understands it to teach people, and that's great. I love
exactly.
that because it does. Look,
Right.
if I didn't have the
Yeah.
resources I had, I'd have to learn it, and that would be painful. So, knowing that somebody's out there willing to teach people, obviously for a fee, is great. You
Well,
know.
yeah. It's one of those things, and what it does is, and this is where the empowerment comes in. It helps someone who not even just starting out, but have a very lean team
Mm.
take control
Mm-hmm.
and feel like they can grow their business.
Mm.
Now, there's certain things that I do not do. Okay. I don't do my
Right,
taxes.
right, right.
That doesn't mean I can't add, but
Right, right.
my brain hurts. So I just say, you know what? I'm going to outsource that to someone else. However, I do keep my bookkeeping up throughout the year, but I give it to her at the end of the year to kind of do it because I don't know, you know what I mean? That's just not that's not where I want to spend my time. But in the first several years of my business, I did do my own taxes. So when you get to the point where it's in your budget to outsource, I would say outsource it to a developer or a designer or someone who understands website marketing, depending on what you need. But at least a person they feel like they have a fighting chance because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, and I'm saying this from personal experience, is like, oh, I don't have a college degree, I can't do this. It's
Right.
like you can because the technology nowadays has come along in such a way that you can do some things.
Mm.
Like
Yep.
what is I think Lowe's says, I think it's everything they say, let's build something together.
Right,
I'm like,
right, right,
oh,
right,
if I
right.
just follow these instructions, I can build something. It didn't say a house, it just said let's build.
Something. Right,
Yeah,
right.
so we're just teaching like simple, we're teaching it in a simple way. Not
Mm.
not for you to have a web development business
Right, right, right,
per se.
right.
That's another
Total
thing. But
different
it's like,
thing.
hey, yeah, you just want to make some updates on your website. And that's what most clients want. They're like, hey, I just want to change the word. Can I
Right,
change the word? And I'm
right.
like, yeah, the technology has it where you can actually change the word without having a computer science
Yeah,
degree.
yeah, yes, 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 yes. That's great.
You
Oh my
don't have
goodness.
to.
I love it. Such great advice, great tips on how to maximize, our website. That's honestly what it is. We do invest a lot of time and money in our websites and we need them to work for us. And so I, think this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of this information with us, Ebony.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Great time. Thank you. I love how Ebony narrows it down to the 3 ways to build your website where it does the work for you and attracts the clients, the tradespeople, the subcontractors, and the bids, right? One strategy she mentioned is to establish authority within your website. Maybe you're like me and you kind of just assume that you should show your work on one page. But Ebony says it's better to have your work sprinkled throughout the site. And she explains it like, tell your story with pictures throughout the whole website like a brochure. And when she says it, it makes sense, right? Another thing Ebony said to have on your website, and that is to have a blog. I know many of us wonder, do I really need a blog? Well, it turns out it does matter, okay? Because it matters for SEO. Right? Having a blog for your business helps position you higher in Google searches. Now, I know you're thinking, what am I supposed to write about? And guess what? It's actually pretty simple. It's answering the questions that your clients have already asked you, right? On the show, I love asking questions, and I ask them because I figure if I'm wondering something, then you're probably wondering it too. And it is the same with your blog. Think about the questions your in person clients are asking you, because guess what? Your potential clients are wondering the same things. And like Ebony said, the person who answers the questions wins. I love that. Another strategy is that you need to show your process. She said the person who shows their process also wins. People are going to research you. And if you can really open it up and be an open book and explain on your website the process a potential client goes through when they work with you, then they have a better understanding of what to expect and they're more likely to pull the trigger. It also eliminates a lot of time and it provides clarity right from the beginning. And, including your process and educating potential clients through your website, it just gives them that little bit extra, right? Letting them know how you work and what you stand for. I love that. Now, this one was an aha for me. If you're looking for good tradesmen, then, like whether it's window treatment professionals, painters, contractors, all the thing, include a Join Us tab or a Trade Resource tab on your website. like pretty simple, right? Have a tab where you express that you are open to or looking to work with other trades and that give them a place to fill it out so that you can set up a discovery call with them. And, there you go. Voila. Maybe they'll call you and you'll have a new relationship, a new resource. I love it. Building your business website can be intimidating. especially if you don't know what you're doing. I have to tell you, don't be afraid to get help on this one. If you know that you're not a great copywriter, if you know you don't know how to optimize your website and to how to articulate who you are and what you stand for, this is not the place, in my opinion, to be penny wise and pound foolish. Your online brand matters. Ebony expressed all the ways that you can improve your website and improve the clients and the potential projects that come your way. All of it does matter. It also reminds me, a show that I recently did on the other podcast, Window Treatments for Profit. Do you know I have 2 podcasts? I hope you do. Right? So a couple of weeks ago on that podcast, Stephanie Hamilton of Hamilton Creatives was on the show. And Stephanie went through all the reasons why our online reputation matters. And she also went through the ways to build it and protect it. I encourage you to check that show out on that podcast feed. It is a very good companion show to this one. We'll put the links in the show notes, but it's episode 64 on window treatments for profit. Okay? Well, thank you, Ebony. Your work in the industry and the advice and tips you shared with us here today are so appreciated. If you're loving the value that Ebony can possibly bring to your firm and would like her help, you can book a consult call with her at makemeovereb.com/book. Thank you tons for joining me today. I so appreciate that you show up. And like I said, if you are in High Point, please come and say hi to me. I love meeting all of you guys in person. It's just so much fun. Thank you again. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.